guys, I'm doing my presentation about verbal and nonverbal communication. Does anybody know the difference between the two?
I believe so.
Okay.
Verbal is when you interact with someone, verbally, talking one-on-one, and nonverbal is when there's no communication, with that person, I would say.
Okay. That's partially correct.
Okay.
The verbal communication is pretty much when you're using like words or like you're writing a letter. Even though you're not saying it, you're still writing like words. You're still using words to communicate with a person. Non-verbal is whenever you're doing like body language, like body movement, gestures. You know what I mean?
But that will also fall under verbal also fall under that.
What? Which one?
Non-verbal.
That's what I said. Yeah, non-verbal is the one that when you use your body movement
What about
and
the
gestures. And verbal is when
No,
you're
I
using
mean, that could also fall under that as well.
what?
Non-verbal would fall under email, the emailing thing part, when it comes to emails and stuff, Because I mean, it's not, you're physically typing, but, physically you're not with that person,
I understand what you're saying, but non-verbal is you're communicating with a person without using words or letters.
Yeah.
So you're using body language, facial expressions. Okay? Have any of you guys went to an interview and you noticed somebody just like looking at your body movement or facial expressions? Yeah, you want to give me an example? No? Have you ever had an interview, job interview?
Yeah, I mean, it's verbal,
Right.
when it comes to interviews. It's you and that person interacting,
Do you think he's looking at your facial expression whenever he
Yeah,
asks you a
facial
question?
expression, your body movement, and, the disposition and stuff like that.
Okay. How does that make you feel?
So it makes me feel good.
Okay. Do you know what's the difference between nonverbal and verbal communication? Do you?
Now I know.
Okay. So the similarities between nonverbal and verbal, it's only a few. It's like both of them is like use symbolic words, and they both have rule guided, and they're all cultural bounded. So each culture have their own obviously nonverbal and verbal. Like you probably have this type of some people think if you put your face on while you're talking to somebody, you're disrespecting them or you did something wrong. But in my culture, it means you're showing respect for that person. Just like the Chinese, whenever they bow down to you. Here, if you do that, they think that you either did something wrong or you're just not a strong person. So that's one example of that. But the other differences is verbal, you use oral and writing words. You're using those type of things. It's easy to understand. It's highly structured. It's less confusing. It's easy to understand somebody if you're using word instead of trying to figure out what he's saying by just facial expression like hand movement or something. You know what I mean? Nonverbal is difficult to understand, lack informal structure, highest possibility of disoriented information. So do you have any questions?
Yes. So, under what category does a deaf person fall under?
A deaf?
Yes.
What category do you think they fall under?
I'm asking you a question, sir.
No, I understand, but
I personally believe it's nonverbal.
Nonverbal why?
I mean, there's no communication, like you said. There's no, oral,
But what if, have you realized there's some deaf people, even though they don't talk, they still make those sounds of yeah, but with them opening their mouth, do you consider that as a verbal?
In some cases.
Just like you said about the emailing and the writing. So what category do you think it? I think nonverbal just because they're using But isn't that considered letters though, like whenever they use?
I mean, that's verbal as well. I mean, you know, you're using letters, and of course we use letters when typing emails and stuff like that. So, I mean, we can both put them in both categories, you know, but I would say nonverbal tops verbal.
So does it fall under verbal or non-verbal?
I said
The deaf
nonverbal
person.
tops verbal. So basically,
It's
more
more non-verbal than verbal.
nonverbal than verbal.
Just because he's not like making,
Yeah, you know,
like,
it's not,
just because he's not talking.
yeah, there's no interaction. Well, there's an interaction, but no, it's not a outspoken, you know.
Okay. Let me give you the definition of verbal communication is face-to-face conversation between two or a group of people. It includes sounds, words, speech, tone of voice, volume, pitch are all used in an effective conversation. Non-verbal includes like gestures, facial expression, body movement, timing, touch, anything that you do to communicate with another person without speaking. So, but many people think that nonverbal communication, it's like people notice nonverbal expression more than verbal, just because like, you know, about the interview. Whenever you're having a conversation with that guy, he doesn't know you personally, but like whenever he asks you, hey, can you perform this job? Like he'll tell you, hey, can you, you know, take this old lady to the bathroom every day, and then he'll watch your face expression. You might have that, you know, like that nasty, nasty look. So he might, you know, not hire you just because of that facial expression you made about that elderly person. You understand what I'm saying? That's why I'm saying, like, whenever you go to a job interview, try to control your facial expression, because every time, that's what they look for, especially when they ask you about the position. So, any other questions? Anybody want to add on anything that I didn't, you know?
Anything you guys want to add on? Oh, good.
What about you?
No, I'm good, man.
Okay, you're the only one that's talking in
Yeah,
this.
that's not as much.
Kevin?
I would consider myself, I'll place myself in the verbal category, you know what I'm saying? So, these guys I know from.
So, I mean, is it easy to understand the difference between?
Very easy. I understand it very well. So.
What, Kevin, do you know the difference between verbal and
Yeah, I
non-verbal?
do.
So what's verbal?
I do.
Okay, well, I appreciate you guys participating in this video.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. There's some chips right here.